I'm so excited to be back because there are so many new things to talk about. But first...
Spider sense!
Save yourself from me!
Eddie Brock? Anti-Venom? He's the one gunning for me? But he's reformed!
Hostile intruder detected in Sector AC-78.
Alright, so Spider Sense basically works to make you unlost. It highlights your objectives like the exit to rooms and enemies holding keys.
Spiffy new tech.
Alright, so now that we're in the game proper, the game starts hiding a lot of collectibles around all over the place. Like, in this little wall hole right here, we have another memo, which I will post in the description, and a golden spider. Amazing Spidey has the same basic control layout as Miguel, but he works a little bit differently. He has a greater focus on evasion and ranged attacks than Miguel does. Basically, if you don't want to get frustrated when you're playing as Amazing Spidey, you have to move around a whole lot more.
Wait, what did you say? I can't hear you.
We need to work out the kinks of this time travel communications thing if it's gonna have any hope of catching on.
Parker, focus on what's important.
I am, which is why I'm heading up to the 66th floor. If that's where we're supposed to butt heads, maybe I could draw them out en route. I'm gonna go look for an elevator.
Do you want to die?
Of course not. I want to run away even less.
I really do like how seamlessly the game transitions between story and gameplay. One might say the transition isn't even there, they blend together so well. You're gonna have to excuse me for being so terrible at the combat, it's been a little while. I do get my stuff together halfway through, I believe. And again, all of these challenges you'll see done properly at the end of the act. The challenges are all very simple. They usually revolve around doing something within a certain period of time or getting hit as few times as possible. And there are 3 ranks, depending on how well you complete it. The gold rank gets you the biggest reward, which is a ton of experience in a gold spider. It's hard to hear, but the loudspeaker actually has some pretty funny things to say, like it just advertised for Matt Murdock not too long ago.
Out loud, you're not a killer anymore.
Whenever the little golden spider on your HUD is flashing, that means there's one nearby and you should look around for it. Those aren't golden spiders, I just wanted to mention that before I forgot.
Express elevator going all the way up to the 66th floor.
What the shock?
What happened?
The elevator I'm in just changed into a closet.
Huh. Rock just tried to kill me with an elevator. Weird coincidence.
Maybe not.
Wait, what? Something I did here had an effect on you in 2099? That's impossible.
Well, theoretically, it's not. The idea is called quantum causality. The 2 gateways created a link between our times.
Like a wormhole through the 4th dimension.
Right. Normally changing the past just creates an alternate timeline. But thanks to the wormhole, what you do there affects my time, and vice versa.
So I can change things here, now, that can immediately change things in the future? That's amazing. Spectacular, even.
They just explained my favorite thing about this game, which is using the story to give the game mechanics purpose, and you'll see what I mean very shortly. But the way this game blends story and gameplay together is really amazing, I think. Pun intended. Also, sometimes I really just want to shut up so you guys can listen to the music.
The security system has all the entrances blocked. I gotta come back here after I take out the security mainframe.
Parker, my path to the 66th floor is blocked by some kind of force field.
Welcome to my world.
So basically, the function of this chapter is to introduce the player to quantum causality and the upgrade system, which you'll see very, very shortly. Spider-Man's hypersense makes him temporarily invincible, just like you saw in the intro cutscene, so we can pass right through lasers, and, you know, it's very good for evasive maneuvers when fighting large groups of enemies.
Hi, is it okay with you if I destroy that security mainframe behind the glass? Oh, come on, Spidey, take out the security mainframe before things get worse.
Protect security mainframe.
It's worth a shot.
These guys with the shields fire a very powerful concussive blast that dazes Spidey temporarily. You can break their block and stop them from firing the blast by using his ranged attacks, which are those web hammers we keep swinging around.
I love these family reunions. Thank you for shopping at Alchemax. Do come again. I'm about to destroy the security mainframe. How you doing, O'Hara? You still stuck? Yeah. Well, listen and learn, newbie. That's all both our problems, right?
My force field just changed into sentries. Robot guards.
This whole quantum causality thing is a real wild card. I can't control if it makes things better or worse. Well, at least I can get through the door now.
I have visual confirmation.
So this is the upgrade menu, and we purchase upgrades with those blue orbs and golden spiders. We are forced to buy the time paradox upgrade to show us how the menu works, which lets us freeze time and the enemies around us. It does not freeze bullets coming into the paradox, however, so don't think it does that, or else you'll just get yourself shot.
So, this quantum causality, could it run both ways? Affecting my time as well as yours?
Impossible.
Because it's happening. All the bad guys are just pros.
And by that I mean, it's possible.
There are some challenges that are just insanely hard. Amazing Spidey has a few where they expect you to avoid getting hit 12 times while there are men with machine guns in the room. Each bullet counts as a hit. Not each stream of bullets, but each individual bullet. Combat missions in general, not missions, challenges. Combat challenges in general are also easier to do with Miguel simply because he attacks faster and his attacks cover a much wider range. Like, in case you can't tell, I'm not going to win this challenge. Miguel also doesn't have to deal with the guys with concussive blast shields, at least not in the first act of the game. Alright, so it's finally time for us to take a look at that upgrade menu. The upgrades are split between Miguel, Spidey, and some of them are shared. We're using the Golden Spider to upgrade Spider-Man's health here because, unlike Miguel, he does not have a shield. And we're also going to buy the Web Hammer because I think it is literally the best thing ever.
Okay, now to get back to that sealed door through the elevator shaft. The force field should be down by now.
You can't exactly buy a lot of new moves for either Spider-Man, but the moves you do buy can be upgraded several times, at least 3. That being said, Miguel's combat upgrades still feel way more useful than Spidey's.
Security alert is now at maximum level. Please do not be alarmed if you hear gunfire, as it is always for your protection.
So while I completely failed this combat challenge, let's take this time to talk about Anti-Venom. Some of you are probably wondering, who the hell is Anti-Venom? What happened to regular Venom? And why is Anti-Venom supposedly reformed? Well, that question is a lot harder to answer than you might think. After the symbiote that created Venom separated from Brock, it joined with Matt Gargan, formerly the Scorpion. And at the time, Brock, well, he was suffering from a little bit of cancer. While he was working in a soup kitchen for someone known as Mr. Negative healed him, at the same time charging his white blood cells with some sort of healing energy. Yes, this all actually happened. When the symbiote later tried to rejoin with Brock, it had a bit of a problem with his new white blood cells, in the process creating Anti-Venom, a new type of symbiote, which was not sentient and would not try to overcome Brock at any point. Anti-Venom and Spider-Man have fought more than a few times, sometimes due to misunderstandings, sometimes other reasons, but the general idea is that Brock's not an evil jerk anymore. Or he never was in the first place, but you get the idea. So, knowing that, there has to be some sort of reason why Anti-Venom has suddenly decided to attack Spidey. I mean, Spider-Man has not done anything that we know of in our current context that would anger Anti-Venom, but we can't rule that out either. Spider-Man accidentally upsets a whole lot of people. Even then, we have to wonder if Anti-Venom's appearance has something to do with SLOAN. It is not in Eddie's character to work for someone like SLOAN. Even in this alternate universe, it's been established that Eddie is still a relatively good guy. Eddie also begged us to flee from him, which might actually imply that he's being controlled somehow, if not by the symbiote, then by something else entirely. He still doesn't seem very willing to hear Spider-Man out about the subject either.
You don't have much time left.
Yeah, so you keep saying, Eddie, fight whatever is doing this to you. You realize this time travel story of yours is gonna cost me my job.
It's not your job. It's not even your reality.
Yeah, that's what you keep saying. But how do you know?
Because I do. And deep down, so do you. Now let me concentrate. I have my own problems right now.
Yeah, well, I can't help you with that.
Maybe you can. Parker, you're making this harder for me, not easier.
There, the elevator I need is right at the end of this hallway.
Parker, I'm in a jam and you put me there.
Hey, I was having a quiet evening until you started talking inside my head. Don't blame me for this. All right, fine. What do you need me to do? O'Hara? Great, he's gone.
This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the game because it keeps throwing so much stuff at you. Miguel is in immediate danger and there are constant new challenges.
Parker, stop screwing around and get me out of this!
Okay, I'm not a time travel expert. How do I... Wait a minute. What if I just trash the robotic research facility? Is that worth a try?
Anything's worth a try!
Stop yelling at me! I'm just learning about this whole quantum causality thing.
Learn faster!
Okay, I'm there. I'll destroy the prototype parts and we'll see what happens.
At least one of us will!
This room in particular can be very stressful because if you don't take out all of the enemies before you try and dismantle the robot, they will shoot you and prevent you from saving Miguel. I've played this scene many times, but the first time you play this game, you absolutely do freak out, because the timer seems very restrictive. You need to take out the robot entirely while there are men shooting at you, and Miguel is being killed to death.
I can't believe a man's life is depending on a theory.
Believe it!
Still with me, O'Hara?
Faster! Faster would be better!
I'm doing my best.
Best! Not good enough!
No! O'Hara, hang on! Trash. You still there?
For the most part.
Did they turn into something else? Like, I don't know, kittens?
Yeah. Small, metal, robotic, killer kittens.
Aww.
So as you just saw, the game can actually be somewhat of a thrill ride sometimes.
Hey, we're getting me out of there. Gotta prove the quantum causality theory.
Just tell me who wins the next 10 World Series, and we'll call it even.
The world what?
You're killing me, O'Hara.
I'm not, but you will if you go to the 66th floor.
66th floor, I know. And we both know I'll do what I have to.
Okay, fine. If plan A, keeping you out of danger, isn't working, then we'll go for plan B. I'll get down to my own 66th floor and see if we can solve this thing.
I'll try not to die in the meantime.
If you're wondering how it is that Miguel came to be Spider-Man, it's more or less directly because of Peter's influence. When Miguel was working in the biochemistry lab in Alchemax, he accidentally altered his own DNA, giving him somewhat the same powers as the original Spider-Man.
Wow, Alchemax isn't kidding around.
Despite the completely idiotic introduction, those robots are actually quite formidable. They target directly onto Miguel, and you do need to use your accelerated decoy to trick them. We're going to start upgrading Miguel here pretty soon. When I play the game normally, I usually just upgrade Miguel over Amazing Spider-Man, but I'm going to try to upgrade them evenly for the sake of the LP. Usually, Miguel is just a lot more fun to play as, though. That's not really Spidey's fault, it's just that I prefer his combat better. For now, because we're actually going to enter a really large fight here in just maybe under a minute, we're going to upgrade his basic short-range attack, which increases the damage. You know, simple stuff. So while Miguel fights a ton of robots with his trademark flair, let's talk a little bit about some of the game mechanics that I didn't quite get to yet. Or not mechanics, but just some little extra junk. The newspapers we've been collecting on occasion, yes, we will look at them separately. They are collected mandatorily throughout the game. They appear as you complete certain story objectives and you can't really miss them. In addition, there is another reward for completing all of the challenges in any given chapter, which is alternate costumes for both Miguel and Amazing Spidey. Yes, don't worry, we will also see the alternate costumes. As for the Wii version of Edge of Time in particular, it's fairly faithful to the next-gen console ports. It's just missing one feature, which would be the arena mode unlocked through cheat codes. The arena mode isn't really necessary because one of the most special things about this game is the fact that it never gives you a break. There's no real stopping point, like in a lot of other action games where you can put the controller down and go, okay, I'm done. There's always constantly new information, constant new objectives. It's rather refreshing, I think. For that reason, and a few others, I think Edge of Time does a much better job of engaging the player than its predecessor, Shattered Dimensions. Especially the story, as in Shattered Dimensions the story was not really a highlight, it was not exactly spectacular. While in Edge of Time, the story is one of the biggest features to the game. I think it's fair to say that even though there are fewer Spider-Men, the game actually has more variety in its game mechanics as well. Due to the stronger connection to the story, there's a greater sense of perceived threat.
Parker, slow down! Wait for me to get to my 66th floor!
Instead of my slowing, how about you hurry?
Figures.
I also rather enjoy the way that the collectibles are hidden. I mean, we just passed one. It certainly wasn't very well hidden, but because we're currently undergoing a challenge and, you know, we need to get to the 66th floor before Peter dies, we're certainly not going to think about going backwards. We do, however, have time to ponder Sloan's potential connection to Anti-Venom. Anti-Venom is clearly being controlled by something, as Eddie himself does not want to kill Peter. And if Anti-Venom is being controlled by someone, that someone probably does not like Spider-Man very much. The list of villains that have it in for Spider-Man is not very short, to say the least, but Sloan seems like the most likely subject as, you know, he's the one doing all this crazy nonsense with changing alternate timelines. That also brings to mind the question of whether Sloan actually knows if Peter is Spider-Man. I mean, Peter's been working for Sloan this whole time, so we would assume not, right? Judging from the earlier memo, we can probably assume that Sloan is not the most level-headed guy there is. Needing a robotic assistant to stroke your maniacal ego is certainly not a good indication of high intelligence. Well, right over there is the elevator, and right over here is the golden spider, but of course both of them are closed off to us right now.
Parker, a hallway here just changed.
It wasn't me. Smashed the wall or something. I'm just trying to stay alive.
If you were, you'd stay around. But you would prove your bravery.
Bravery? Dude, there is nothing I would like better than to just hightail it out of here.
Then why the shock don't you?
Because what I do here matters, okay? Beyond changing hallways into elevators, it matters. And that's just something I have to live with, even if it means I die with it. You get it, O'Hara?
Whatever.
Although Miguel and Peter are both Spider-Men, it certainly appears that Miguel does not share Peter's direct fondness for idealistic heroism.
I just need to find the right sentry robot.
It's kind of hard to say that there is a right and wrong in this instance, because it seems that both are just doing their best to protect their future, while Miguel is focused on the bigger picture and Spider-Man is just concerned with who Anti-Venom could hurt. It's certainly not unusual for Peter to take this stance on things, but considering Anti-Venom can drain his powers, this confrontation isn't exactly going to end well for him.
Attention intruders. Security forces are still in operation. Please remain where you are so that you can be disposed of with minimal pain.
No doubt he's also trying not to think about how pissed Mary Jane's going to be when this is all over.
Parker, you still there?
Yeah, kind of. Look, sorry I wigged out earlier. It's not cool.
It's okay. At least now I know you understand the stakes.
Glad to know you see it my way.
Just keep telling yourself that. So, where are you?
Nearly where you don't want me to be.
Slow down, would you?
How about you speed up?
Yeah, I'll get right on that. Only way to move fast enough is to go freefall in the elevator shaft. Shortest distance between two points is a straight line. On my way, Parker. Parker? Well, that's ominous.
We didn't actually need to destroy that generator right there, but doing so will give us access to that golden spider near the elevator. What I meant about the story giving the game variety is going to become very apparent here in just a second when we actually do reach the elevator shaft. Alright, so this is insanely fun. We can go slowly and control ourselves better, or we can hold down A and go light speed down the elevator shaft. Of course we're going to be holding A down the whole time, because why would you do it any other way? If you can make it out, there's a little blue dot telling you where you're going to hit, basically meaning it's an action rhythm game, but without the music. So while the main objective here is just to not splatter Miguel's brains all over the elevator walls, we're also trying to beat the timer up there by the challenge. I think SLOAN is really just an evil dick to design elevators like this. I cannot imagine any reason your elevator shaft would need to function this way. And that looked intensely painful.
Parker, it happened again!
Oh, loud, it wasn't me!
The game claims that Miguel is harder to control while he's being sped up, but he still responds instantly. It's about how fast you move your finger. Apparently I'm not moving mine very fast.
Intruder detected. Employ lethal force.
Oh, great. A Centurion. Shock it! Gotta get back up there fast, before Parker reaches his own 66th floor ahead of me. Parker, you hanging in there?
Oh, sure. Hanging, crawling, leaping, all part of the service. And you can stop worrying about me, Mommy, especially since I'm the one who keeps having to bail you out.
I'll keep worrying until this is done. How close are you to the 66th floor? Parker? Shh, shut up. I just let it run. Don't touch. Parker! Parker, are you... Gotta wrap this thing up before it turns into an even bigger disaster than it already is.
These little wall-crawling sections with obstacles are kind of reminiscent of the 2000 Spider-Man game for the PlayStation and Dreamcast. In fact, it seems that Shattered Dimensions and Edge of Time took more than a few pages from Spider-Man 2000's book. It's kind of a different way to approach Spider-Man, you know, having him go on more of an adventure than just exploring and roaming a city, but I think I like it a little bit more that way. It makes it easier to focus on the story, I think.
At least there's an alternate route. It'll slow me, but I can still get to the 66th floor. Looks like the only way up to the 66th floor is through the ventilation.
We're going to upgrade Miguel again very shortly, and when we do, we're going to give him my favorite attack in the game. Alright, so right here, we're going to go give Miguel his charged combat attack, which is a little dance that knocks enemies away. Now, on its own, it takes quite a while to use, so you're wondering why would I use it? Well, you can use it in the middle of any combo simply by holding down the attack button. And while you're using it, pretty much nothing can touch you except for bullets. Fighting enemies with Miguel is already extremely satisfying, and the little roundhouse dance just put it over the top for me. There are actually a lot of rooms where you can leave the enemies and continue forward. This is one of them, but over in that door to the right there's a golden spider, so we're going to stick around and fight all the enemies so we can open it. Peter could really be dead for all we know at this point, so I think Miguel's going to have some explaining to do when he tries to tell someone that he was going after a golden spider. I suppose one could argue that these collectibles work against the game's fast, intense pacing, but I think that's kind of the point. It's the only thing that really makes them hidden, is the fact that it works against the player's nature. Let's pretend that didn't happen.
This is nuts. Old nuclear plants had less protection than this.
If it seems like the game is already building to its conclusion, that's because there are very defined acts. The acts are several hours long, so it's not like, you know, you feel cheated or it ruins the momentum, but there are 3 acts to the game. It's a traditional structure of sorts. I literally played the whole thing through in one sitting the first time I got it, because I just didn't want to stop until I saw what happened. It may not work the same way for everybody, but I think there's a lot to be said for how hard Edge of Time tries to engage its player with the universe.
Finally made it back to where I was. Parker, I made it to the 66th floor. Where are you? Is this Anti-Venom still hiding?
I'm face to face with Anti-Venom. Eddie, you're responsible for the explosions?
Trying to blow you up.
If you were really trying, you'd have done it. What's going on here?
Kill you now.
What's happening there, Parker?
Anti-Venom's fighting himself more than he is me.
Subcutaneous control chips would do the job. How dangerous is this guy?
He drains my powers on contact, and he's invisible to my spider sense.
Terrific. Well, where are you now, and can you avoid Anti-Venom?
66th floor, and yeah, maybe I could avoid him. Plus, if his explosions bring the building down, people for blocks around will be killed.